Everybody, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Prince Gurus. We are here again. And today we're talking about a very important topic for all of us called motivation. Unfortunately, Raj could not make it. She'll probably be next time. Okay. So we'll start with Jimmy.
So hi, girls, and welcome everybody. Every week, we try to have an intelligent discussion about different topics that can enhance the human experience. And this morning, I was standing in my kitchen thinking about the unique to experience our life as a transgender individual. That's 1% of the 1% of the 1%. And when people talk about the 1% aren't the billionaires. The 1% are the people that are living their lives. And it takes some motivation to do that. Motivation, uh, I think Bobby introduced this topic a couple hours ago, and I was in the gym. Actually, I'm on the parking garage at the gym right now. Motivation is fleeting. Motivation is inconsistent. If motivation was permanent, the coach would only need to give a pep talk to the players just one time per season. A coach has got to give a pep talk to the team prior to every game, sometimes even every play.
Yeah.
Motivation is fleeting. Discipline is not. And I've come to learn that in when you're motivated, you're emotionally elevated. It's easy to say yes to do something difficult. Discipline makes it easy to say yes all the time. But there's a difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation is an emotional state. That's why you listen to motivational speakers.
Yeah.
You know, you listen to Zig Ziglar or Les Brown or any of these folks. There's the count Wayne Dyer, the countless Tony Robbins. These guys are motivational speakers, and so you leave the event or hearing the recording or the video, however you're watching this stuff, you get motivated. Does that motivation stay with you forever? No, it's fleeting. It's temporary. Sometimes you got to listen to these videos 1,000 times, and then it's still fleeting. Because motivation is an emotional heightened state of excitement, and discipline is a constant form of self-management. And I read this somewhere years ago where discipline takes over where motivation stops.
Mm.
And that's why it's important when we are managing our lives, we are all managers, we're all self-managing. Whether you work for someone else or punch a clock or whatever you do to come to put food in your refrigerator or however you contribute to society requires some management skills.
Yep.
And then to implement these management skills requires some discipline. And then you throw in some motivation, you got an active life. So motivation, you're motivated. I am motivated. In my life, there's a certain level of motivation that's constantly available because I've conditioned myself that in such a way that even when I don't feel like doing something, I do it
Hmm.
because we're creatures of habit. We develop routines. I've conditioned my mind, body, and spirit to engage in today was leg day at the gym. And leg day by far is the most taxing body part to train. Your quads are your biggest muscle. And it's brutal. But I know the feeling of elation when I walk out the gym. And so there's the effort reward component to this too. Discipline has its fair share of rewards, but there's a cost, there's a price to pay. And motivation can help in achieving our goals. Ella.
Yep. I totally agree with you. Bobby, you're next.
Oh, sure. It's funny when I think about how to join in the discussion. I I often think of the people that haven't quite sorted through things like motivation yet. They're stuck, or they're scared, or why would somebody want to select to listen to a podcast on motivation? And it might be because they're not feeling very motivated. And so I'm trying to think a little bit about that, uh, and not to disagree whatsoever with what Jimmy says. Um, it's just that in my experience in the trans community, discipline um, doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. um, uh, if you were an athlete, say, and from an early age, you were into kind of the sports discipline and things to help be a better athlete and so forth. And you get it when you take about it, when you think about it. But athletics isn't the only place where we encounter things like discipline. And getting back to the other bunch of people have heard it in their homes, and they've especially heard it in their churches if they are uh, members of like a cult kind of thing and have experienced things like conversion therapy. And then the way they browbeat you over the head with a term like discipline, and to them, they don't mean going to work out in the gym. They mean getting up an hour earlier so you can pray more or you can read more in your Bible. And that kind of discipline is going to cure everything. And
Mm.
a lot of times it just makes everything worse. And so um, I agree with you, what you're saying about discipline, but I also understand that uh, that's an overwhelming word to a lot of people. And I've talked about that with people recently. And they said, well, instead of using discipline, why don't you say self love? Or self care? Why don't you talk about it in terms of self care? And it's really the same sort of thing. It's developing a mindset and developing habits, and routines and things like that. So I just wanted to be sure to mention that if discipline is one of those words that has a negative connotation to you, substitute something else like self-love or self-care for it. It's the same sort of thing. It's 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 loving yourself in, into uh, a higher level of expertise and ability and things like that. So I'm not disagreeing at all with what Jimmy's saying. I'm just acknowledging that for some people it doesn't have the same connotation. Uh, and the other thing that I was thinking about motivation to persist as a trans person once you come out. One of the things that was toughest for me when I think about motivation to do something was the accusation that I'm being selfish. And I think that's another thing that people run into a lot. It's like we're starting to act on this motivation to become true to ourselves. And we are surrounded by people that are very comfortable with our old self, our fake self. They're comfortable with that fake person. And all of a sudden, when you start talking about coming out, then you get accusations of being selfish. And I got a ton of those from family members and so forth. It's like, how could you do this to our mother? And how, it's just so selfish. And that's a thing that's hard to work through, I think, for people, is sorting out, is it really selfish or is it really motivated? And it's not that at all. Because selfish means that you're not really caring for anybody but yourself, and you don't you don't really care what happens. But no, when you're motivated to transition, it's requires so much courage, so much bravery, and so much consistency, and you do it to thrive. That is what the big deal is. You're not doing it to be selfish. Far from it. You're the way you're living. Well, at least for me, the way I was living was slowly killing me, slowly draining me. It was, I was forced into living a life that was making people comfortable, and I can be motivated to live a life that makes everybody else comfortable but me. But that doesn't last very long. And so I just wanted to be sure to mention that going through that swamp uh, of the accusations of being selfish when no, you're really being very motivated for the first time, and you're really trying to become who you were created to be. You're trying to become honest, emotionally available, uh, all of those sorts of things that make you an authentic person. And so it's I just want to mention that in this idea of motivation, you really have to take a look at what the world would call selfishness when we're not being selfish at all. Actually, we're trying to live a little longer, live a little better. We don't want to just survive in this role that has been killing us. We're trying to thrive and to be all we can be. And so I just wanted to be sure to clear that up a little bit. That motivation can be difficult to find for a lot of people because they have big families or jobs or whatever, and they have lived so long making everybody else comfortable but themselves. It's really kind of hard to see a way through all of that. And so we're going to talk about that motivation. And I just wanted to be sure to mention that I know for some people it's hard to find that motivation initially. And some of the things that tripped me up were the idea that discipline had not was not a cool word at the time I was going through this because it was so deeply entrenched with conversion therapy and the stuff they demand from you in terms of discipline. So I've got to find another way to talk about it. And then the other thing is, uh, if you've got a family and things like that, how do you counter that argument of selfishness when you're trying to be motivated to become all you can be? And so I just wanted to acknowledge those. And now we can get into the real meal that we're trying to serve up tonight. So back to you, Ella.
Yeah, that is you guys told many very interesting things, but let me go back a little bit and what is motivation?
Yeah,
How do we get motivated? So I've been a manager all my life, and I've been dealing with people. And when you deal with people, you have to think about how to motivate others. Yeah, of course, you can give a tip. Is that motivation? No. You can give money for someone to do something. That is payment for but it's not motivation. Motivation for me, it's something which comes from within. When you listen to a motivation speaker, you are, from my perspective, you are listening to something which affects you and you get motivated by the speaker. He's not motivating you. You are motivating yourself because you're
yes,
listening, which actually something which is really touches you. I don't believe, I mean, yeah, well, the old type of physical motivation. If you don't do this, you get pom. That is not motivation. That's, that is, we used to call that. you've got an ass, and you put a carrot in front of the ass so that the ass goes in and do something, and always running to see the carrot, to go and get the carrot. Yeah, well, that's not motivation. That's that's just trickling with people. Um, but some people, I think they've got a little bit of an issue. Real motivation is something which comes from within, from my perspective. And I've always tried to, when I deal with teams, and I'm talking now about, you know, other people, to try to find out what motivates the person, what is important for them, what makes him tick, what makes her tick, what is important for that person. And that works for us too. Being transgender and transitioning needs a lot of motivation. But you know what? You'll find it because it's within you. It's so anchored within you that you'll find it. You'll go directly to it automatically. You might, as Jimmy said, it's not something constant. It has ups and downs, and it's sometimes you feel motivated, sometimes you feel, um, you know, by your environment, which is actually not supporting your motivation. You feel affected, which is absolutely normal. Everybody, has got the ups and downs, and you're learning by it. You're learning by doing things like that. I mean, it takes sometimes a hell of a lot of motivation to, if you are down, to get out of that down state and start to be positive again and grow and do things like that. But hey, try to find where is your motivation point. Try to be positive, because motivation comes with a self-positiveness and self in your heart. You cannot get motivated by other people. You can only get, kind of given a little bit of a point too for you to get self-motivated. That is, for me, my experience, and it's always been like that. Yeah, you can get demotivated quite a lot by other people. Unfortunately, it's quite true that, because sometimes, yeah, your environment is not, is not the right thing for you. And in that case, you have to put a guard, or just forget it, or just close your eyes and, do like the three monkeys. No see, no hear, no talk. And like that, you can get over it. But, you know, never forget, motivation comes from within. Don't don't rely on others to motivate you. You can rely on others to have something which gives you some bit of happiness, which actually indulges or brings that motivation up. That is my piece of advice.
So I like your take on that, Ella. So the emotional state of being motivated is generated from within ourselves,
Yeah.
but external stimulus can bring it to the top.
Or to
You
the
know, so if a person can motivation is the byproduct of inspiration.
yeah.
So we can inspire ourselves. How do we do that? Through dreams, have a goal. You see something that excites you. You have an idea of a goal or something that you want to accomplish. You get inspired by that. And then you figure out a way how to develop a game plan to make this become a reality. Then you get motivated to implement this plan. Then you need discipline to continue with the implementation of the plan. Then
Absolutely.
you need a sense of commitment. Life doesn't just happen in one. It's a continual a continual uh, unleashing of our potential, and that's how you grow, uh, by experiencing all these things and all these different emotions, and that's how we grow.
Yeah.
And motivation is the byproduct of inspiration. Find ways to motivate yourself, and you'll constantly be inspired.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I I really love what you're saying because when you do begin listening to your heart and are motivated to, to that the message that's coming from your own heart to pursue that, that really becomes a self-reinforcing kind of uh, initiative I've discovered because when when you are being true to yourself, you vibrate at a higher level, and and you know it, and everybody around you knows it. It's like, whoa, something is different with this person, and and we talk about that frequently in our shows. Is that the frequency of our vibration attracts a similar high frequency vibrations from the ethers into our life, and and that really does kind of, I don't want to call it a feedback loop, but it's a self-reinforcing thing. It's like the more you go, the more you get rewarded. Like even with its trial and error learning, it's like, okay, I was going to go try to do this, and whoops, I messed up. I got, I got clocked or whatever. So, well, what do I need to change? What was it? What was I doing that caused that? And then you get an idea. Well, let me try this, and then you try that, and it doesn't happen ever again. And so there's a, a lot of that motivation becomes kind of self-reinforcing when you're really truly following your heart, and you're attracting the reality that you've always dreamed about. And I think about that transition is like the prayer we had when we were a kid. And now we're able to it's come to life. And that is really motivating. I mean, no kidding. It's like, oh my gosh, I never dreamed that this would happen and this would happen, and I would have these things in my life. And that just motivates you to do even more. And then bad things do happen. We've all lost family members, uh, um, maybe had love interests that didn't pan out, had a business initiative that didn't work. And I'm not saying that you'll never have any disappointments, but your motivation uh, keeps you persisting and being resilient and trying to find another way through on your journey. So
Yeah.
I I just really believe that authenticity keeps you motivated. um, uh, Not that there's not an ebb and flow, and that you don't need reminders. The other part is Jimmy's exactly right. You do need reminders, and you do need to listen to good
Sure.
and have really good friends. And I say it all the time: show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. And it's like that's another thing. Get like-minded people who are also motivated around you. No doom and gloom. It's like, or it's like hope and passion uh, for moving ahead. And so I'll leave with that thought.
Bobby, you before you talked a bit about the bit selfishness.
Uh-huh.
And, we all have to have a little bit of selfishness.
Mm,
It's nice to be a little bit, to take into consideration what other people think. It's not only nice, it's more than nice, it's important. And
mm,
it shows how good a person is But a tiny little bit of selfishness, of thinking about oneself, is for me a given thing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because
you can't give you can't give from an empty cup.
absolutely,
Exactly. Exactly.
absolutely.
You
So
got to
let's
charge your own battery.
exactly. So let's go to the last round, very fast one. Okay. Jim, you want to start?
Sure. So motivation is, as Bobby was talking about, I do believe it is self perpetuating.
Yeah.
And I know in my life journey, the discipline required to achieve a goal, and then when we achieve that goal, it motivates us to achieve the next goal.
Yeah.
And you see this in my life, in all aspects of my life, in the gym, in my business, in my spirit world, in my personal life. The as I grow as a human being, and I look in the mirror and I look around at my surroundings, the life that I've created for myself, it motivates me to not only continue, but to continue to improve.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I live by the mindset that I live my life in such a way that every morning when I wake up, I'm a new and improved version of myself. I'm better than I was yesterday and the day before and the day before. And you live your life that way, you're going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
And it requires some discipline. There's that word again, some self-love and motivate, and the motivation is the byproduct of having these goals. We're never I live by this. We never get a dream or a thought or a vision for ourselves. Whatever vision that you have for yourself, you have within you the power to make it a reality. Otherwise, you wouldn't have that vision for yourself.
Correct.
And that the wherewithal, the means necessary to actualize as the vision you have for yourself could be buried deep within your soul. And it's going to require tremendous discipline and motivation to dig deep and get the resources that are inherently within us to develop as the person that we see ourselves as.
Yeah.
Ella.
Bob, your last words?
Oh, sure. And I want to come back and just revisit discipline because that if that is a word that has anything negative to it just because of things that you've experienced, it's like forgive that stuff, move on, and realize that there is a place for discipline and call it whatever you need to call it to get it into your life. And I was just thinking, just recently, um, just with deaths in the family and moving and all this stuff, old house and smaller house, yada yada yada. My home had just become really cluttered, and I've really some of my very best friends are on the autism spectrum, and if you live or hang out closely with people on the spectrum, one of the things you often find is they are very organized and very neat. There is a place for everything, and everything is in its place. And that's a discipline for me. It's like to deal with clutter, I have got to get very disciplined and organized. And so I've been having the best time rearranging my world so that everything has a place and everything's in its place. And that took a lot of discipline and motivation too. But the whole purpose of that was to just clear out. Uh, it's like my life and the chapters of my life had taken me to this point. Now, to go to the next point, the motivation I need to go to the next point, I've got to clear out all of that stuff and make room for new energy in my life. And so that does take some discipline, and that's one of the ways that it looks at right now is I am purifying my environment. I am getting rid of all the clutter. Uh, just emotionally, physically, mentally, every way place I see it, and that is a form of discipline, but it's very motivating too. So that's, I think it's what everybody else is saying. It is like a feedback loop where
Yeah.
uh, there's like a flywheel, and you keep building up the momentum, and it carries you forward.
I've got my way of explaining things this way.
Yes, you do.
There is in life is composed of 90% of transpiration and 10% of inspiration. And it's on those 10% of inspiration that we get our motivation.
Oh,
And you know what? Hey, enjoy every single moment of it
mhm,
because it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's so great to be around here in this world. You know, I was looking in one of those, I don't know, motivational speeches, and it is true, we all die one day. So enjoy
mhm.
while you're here.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
with those words and missing Raji a lot tonight, um, I think we were really good on time today.
Yes.
Bye, everybody. Have a good
Bye bye.
evening. See you next.
Namaste.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.